Hi guys. Oh my gosh, this feels so foreign to me. I haven't done this in like so long. I don't even know how long it's been since I've recorded a podcast episode and like had the mic out and everything. So, am I too low? I feel my chair's a little too low. Is that better? Yes and no, cuz now I can't like I'll be out of frame a little bit. The way how my desk and chair is situated, my chair is bigger than my desk. Like I can't put it in all the way because I didn't look at the measurements of my chair. So my chair sometimes is just weird, but I can't sit the way I want to. I'm so a little annoyed. Okay, we'll persevere. Okay, I'm trying not to have like edits in this because I wanted to be able to just upload it because I have a lot to talk about. But also, I don't have the time to really edit as much as I used to because okay, I'll just let me just get into the episode and then I can explain everything. So, hi guys, welcome back to my podcast. I'm your host Ananda, and that's not my intro, but we're gonna go with it. Hi guys, welcome back to my podcast, Random Chats with Anna. I'm your host Ananda Cash, and if you are new here, that's the title of my podcast, and that's my name. Now, I've been debating, this is something random that I'm just going to put in. I've been debating if I should change it to Random Chats with Anna to just Ananda because I have never been called Anna or Anna. Maybe like once, but not by like, it was never a nickname that I created for myself. Like, I remember people would ask me, oh, do you have a nickname? And I would say no because I felt like they were being lazy and didn't want to figure out how to say my name. Because I'm like, my name is really not that difficult. It's literally Amanda, but with an N and the A is lower. Instead of Amanda, you could say Ananda. Then when you say Ananda, instead of it being say Ananda. Like, it's not that hard. So I feel like people were just trying to be like lazy and not say my name. So I was like, no, I don't have a nickname. And no one ever thought to call me Anna. That's a crazy part about it. And then I remember when I first made a like Facebook account that I would want people to see, I have it as Anna Nancy. And I don't know why I put that. I think to not have it be my actual name. And Nancy's my middle name. So I just put Anna Nancy. And then with this podcast, I put Anna for short, or Anna. I put Anna for short. I'm saying different times. Because I know people that are named Anna, they say Anna. I don't think people say Anna that much. This is so random, but this is my podcast. So I don't really hear people saying Anna, but I say Manchester Anna. But I've never been called Anna before, like ever. So I've been debating if I should put it as Random Chats with Anna or just say Random Chats with Ananda. Because I feel like Random Chats with Anna, I'm your host, Ananda Cash. Because I feel like you could just say my name in the title, but I put Anna to make it shorter. So let me know if you can DM the podcast Instagram at Random Chats with Anna on Instagram and DM me if you think I should put my name or just keep it as Random Chats with Anna. Because I'm fine with Anna, but I was like debating if I should change it to Ananda. But anyway, that's besides the point of this whole topic of the episode. I'm leaning to like reach the mic because I feel like I want to be able to like talk like this into the mic, but I don't know. My back hurts. I have back pains, and sometimes my carpal tunnel gets really bad. So right now I don't have the wristbands on, so that's good. I have to get new ones because the ones I have kind of suck and they're getting their Velcro, so the fabric of my clothes keeps getting stuck on it, and now it doesn't close all the way sometimes. So now I have to get new ones. So I'm probably gonna get like more expensive ones just to make them last longer. Like basically those pay were $8. I'm not gonna lie. So I just bought them because I needed them because at the time a few months ago my carpal tunnel, when it was really bad, it was unbearable. Like it was one of the worst pains I've ever experienced in my entire life, and I gotten 3 hand tattoos, and people that got tattoos, especially hands ones, know those joints hurt. It was like that, but like worse. So anyway, that was random, but they're not bad today. But I want to sit. I'm so uncomfortable. This podcast is gonna be so long. Okay, so I'm not going to say hi again because I already introduced myself. My name's Ananda Cash, and this podcast episode, I'm going to be talking about 3 things I've learned as an adult. Now, I say 3. I might put 4, 1 for a bonus one, but I may or may not add it. I'm not sure. Depending on how long this podcast is, I may or may not add it. So, I'm going to say 3 things, but it might be 4. Just a heads up. But anyway, 3 things I've learned as an adult. But before I get into the topic of the episode, I want to give you a life update because I have been MIA for my podcast. If you are a returning listener, thank you for your patience. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate you. I love and respect you. If you are new, thank you for coming. I appreciate, love, and respect you. And I want to talk about why I've been gone from my podcast specifically for a while. Now, I've still been posting content on my YouTube channel, and I haven't posted my channel in I think like a good 2 weeks. And I made it I posted on like my Snapchat and Instagram story about how I most likely won't be posting in the month of November, mostly because part of the update, I finally got a job. I probably won't put an applause, so it'll just be awkward silence, but but I finally got a job. And for those of you that have been watching my YouTube channel and listened to a few of my podcasts, you would know that after I graduated college, I didn't have a job for basically 18 months, and that was a long period of time to have little to no money. So having a job, like looking for a job, basically in the field that I got my degree in was what I was really like a whole bunch of like, it's a lot of job hunting essentially in itself is hard. And then job hunting for a job in your field and a degree, especially in arts, is even harder. So I was facing that debacle for a while. And then basically I finally got a job, not in my degree, but I got a job regardless. And I got the job pretty easily because of connections. And I'm not going to say what the job is because I want to basically just keep that part private because I want to keep the job. So I just got it. I started November 1st. Today is the 16th. So I've been working there. This is my 3rd week working there. So it's a pretty good job. It's a lot of standing. I have to stand for like 8 hours straight each shift. But because of me having this job, now I barely have time to do really anything. But I'm going to make it work. But basically, I wanted to get used to me having a job and adjusting my schedule to me working, and then also being in school now, because for the past 2 terms I was part-time with school. So basically, for those of you who don't know, I am an online grad student, and with my classes, because I'm online, I basically have a course of 10 weeks where we do 1 to 2 classes, and 1 class is part-time, 2 classes full-time, and we have the classes for 10 weeks, we have a week break, and then we go back for another 10 weeks. So for the past 2 terms, I was having just 1 class. So I was part-time, and I was able to manage my time more because I had 1 class and was able to figure out the days I could do homework, days I could do YouTube, days I could do podcasting, which I didn't do basically the whole summer. I could do YouTube and then also do my other 2 jobs at my church. And basically, I thought about it today, and if I trickle it down to like all the amount of work I have to do, I essentially have 3 jobs, and then I'm in school full-time. And then on top of that, I do content creation. So basically, essentially, I have, including content, if I include YouTubing, podcasting, being a secretary, being a business secretary, and being an assistant, teaching assistant, and then being a student, and then having a job. Like, you see what I mean? Like, excluding the student, if I include content creation with both YouTube and podcasting, I have 5 jobs. And I'm a full-time student. And then on top of that, I have to do with house stuff, like doing laundry, washing dishes, making sure my room's clean, figuring out how to help my parents clean up the apartment. It's a lot of work, and I have a lot of stuff to do. So with the job, I have even more. So now I have even less time to do all the stuff I have to do already. And it's a lot, so I decided to give myself the month of November to adjust to my schedule, because I would have the habit of, when I have one more thing to do, I wouldn't let myself adjust to the schedule. I would just cram in everything and like, okay, well, I just have to figure it out and cram in, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, let me give myself the month off to just figure out what to do. So I basically gave myself essentially 2 weeks off, and then I'm probably going to post this podcast episode like this week, like Friday or something, and that's why I'm trying to make sure I don't have any edits, so I can literally just put it on Premiere, let it render, let it export, and then I can just upload it the way it is. So I'm trying not to have too much cuts. We'll see. But yeah, so I have a job now, and that, I'm not going to get into that aspect of like how grateful I am to have this job, because I have, like I said, I haven't had a job for basically 18 months, and having a job, essentially, it resolved a lot of problems and issues that I was concerned about. So it solved those problems. And then because I have a job, even though I have less time now to do things I already need to do, it also opens doors for me to be able to do other things. Because when you have a job, you have money, and money can help you. It can't buy happiness, but it can buy you things that can give you the tools to become happy. I'm not saying I'm not happy. I'm just saying, like, money, now that I have my own source of income, I can finally do things that I've been waiting to do for a long time. That, like, I'm like, I can't do this because I don't have the money to pay for it. Now I have the money to pay for it, and I can finally do things that can better myself as an individual, and it also help others. And also, since Christmas is coming up, I can buy my friends gifts and not be struggling with money. Like, my bank account won't be at 2. So, like, I can have money to buy my parents more than one gift for Christmas. Like, basically, this job helps a lot because I had a lot of money issues, and now those money issues are mostly resolved. And one thing I did think about that, like, I'm not mad about the situation. It's just more something that came up in topic was that, like, for the longest time before, like, when I was fresh out of college, I didn't want to just get a job just to get a job because I didn't want to I had the fear of being stuck at that job. Like, I didn't want to get a job just to make money, and then I eventually move out with that job. But then it's like, I'm making money with a job that I hate, and I hate my life because I hate my job, but I can't quit the job because I have to pay rent with it. That was the reason why I waited so long to pick a job, because I wanted to make sure the job that I picked was a job that I can enjoy and want to actually be at. So that's why I waited so long to get the job. But then the longer I didn't have a job, the more a little desperate I became for one. And I feel like if I would have gotten offered this job last year with the same situation that I'm in, I would have taken it. But, essentially everything happens for a reason. The timeline is good timing. And I basically was able to now have the job that I have, and I got the connection because my friend works there, and now we have the same days we work, so we can see each other for a few hours of the day. We have different time shifts, but we can still see each other at least. So basically, this worked out great. So now I have a job, and that's why I wasn't posting on YouTube for the past 2 weeks. Now, podcasting, the job has nothing to do with it because I just got it, but I just was too busy. It's a combination of me being really busy, and I didn't have time to edit both a podcast and YouTube, but also I just didn't have anything I could talk about, because I feel like a lot of things that I could talk about or that I want to talk about, honestly, a therapist should just hear it, 1. 2, I didn't know how to articulate it in a way where I would have little to no backlash. That's the honesty of it. But now that I am, I'm just filming this podcast because I was listening to a podcast. I was listening to Emma Chamberlain's podcast, Anything Goes, and I think she was talking about the episode where she says she changed her opinion. And whenever I listen to podcasts, it gets me thinking about my own thoughts, and then I'm basically having my own podcast while listening to a podcast. It happens every time. So basically, it inspired me to want to make this podcast. So I was like, let me just make a podcast because I haven't made one in months. I miss talking to the camera, and let me just do it, and then just have it just be rough, no cuts, no edits, just talk and post it, and then to see how it goes. So now that I got that out the way, that was the one life update. And another life update is, like I said, I am back in school full time. So now I have even less time to like make content and edit it the way how I would want to. I'm in school. Well, this life update has nothing to do with podcasting. This is just a life update in general. The other life update is that I am in school. Like I said, I'm in school, and I'm in essentially my senior year of grad school. I'm in my second year, my last year. I have 2 terms, and I'm done. I'm getting my master's. And if you have been a listener or watched my content, you know that I was talking about how after a master's, I'm going to get my MFA, which is a degree to help you become a professor to teach. And the more I thought about going back to school, or just continuing school, the more I dreaded it, because if I'm being honest, I am exhausted with school. I'm so tired of going to school. And I think it's just because of online. I think if I was in person, I wouldn't be as tired. I would still be tired of it, but just not as tired, because even when I finished with my bachelor's, I wanted to take a gap semester or a gap year. I wanted to take a break because I was just like, this was as great as wonderful as college was. I really wanted to just take time to just decompress and just relax, because I've for my entire life, I've had problems with learning how to genuinely relax and like take breaks because I had the mindset that I wasn't allowed to take breaks and that I always had to be busy. The lighting is bad. I don't know what happened there, but I basically always had the mindset that I always had to be busy because if I'm not busy 24/7, I'm lazy. And now I'm learning that that's not a good mindset to have. I've had that mindset for reasons I'm not going to get into, but I had that mindset for reasons. And now that I know that that's like toxic productivity in a sense of it's not good to have that mindset because then you never know when to take a break and when to set boundaries for yourself. And that was also another thing. I didn't know how to put boundaries. And then whenever I did put boundaries, they weren't respected. So then it just didn't work out. But now I'm like, I'm going to put boundaries. And I also realized that school, I'm at the point in my life where it's like my career goal is basically I want to be a writer. I want to write movies and film. I want to write films and novels and work and like be a script supervisor, then direct my own movies, do the whole shebang. And it's like I don't need to continue being in school for that. Like I could, but I already got my bachelor's. I'm about to finish my master's. What am I in school for? So I had to think about that. Like, why am I still in school? Like, why would I continue to get another degree to do what? And the MFA, the only reason why I would get it is to teach. And it's like, do I want to teach? Essentially, the reason why I was going to become a professor was just so that way I can still have a passion and make stable income off of passion. Because I love writing so much, I was willing to teach it. That's the reason why I wanted to become a professor, because I wanted to continue to be in my own passion. And then also during my breaks, I can have time to write. Because a lot of writers become professors and they do all that stuff. So I was like, oh, let me just do that then. But then it's like, I still want to be able to, like, my full-on passion is just writing movies and novels. Like, that's all I want to do. That's how I want to make my money. I want to write novels. I want to write books. And I don't have the time to do that when I'm in school. So I was thinking about it for a minute. And then whenever I had to think about applying, because right now will be the time for me to be applying for MFA program to be in for next fall. Because basically I was going to graduate in May, then go back to school in the fall. And then every time when I had to do research for schools, like I kind of knew the schools I want to go to, the programs I want to go to, the money it was going to have to cost to apply to those schools. The more I thought about it, every single time I didn't want to do it, I was dreading it every single time. I was like, I don't want to do this. And then I was just like, so why am I doing it? If I really hate it that bad. Because before, whenever I would not like something, I would just be like, I don't like it, but I would just tolerate it. There are some things that I can tolerate, and there are some things that are mentally intolerable. I mentally cannot withstand it. I have a banshee screaming in the top of its lungs in my head, like, stop, I don't want to do this. Like, it's mentally unbearable. And that's what was happening with school. I was mentally unable to think about applying and doing another degree and going to school for another 2 to 4 years. I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it for another 2 years. I couldn't. So I realized that if I would have taken the gap that I wanted to earlier, maybe I wouldn't feel this way about school. But also I'm like, if I do go back to school, it's after I take a break. So I came to the conclusion that I'm going to take a gap year. After I get my master's, I'm going to take a year off. Technically, it won't be a full year off because if I want to go, let's say I would have gone back fall 2023. But if instead I want to go back fall 2024, I would have like 6 months off, and then I would have to apply to schools again and all that stuff. And then part of me was scared because I'm like, oh, but what I was going to do was I was going to just apply to schools and then defer my decision for a year so that I could still have my year off. But then when I have my year off, I still have a school to go to that next fall. But then I was like, so that's what I was going to do. But then I couldn't even get myself to do the applications. And then I was kind of scared that if I don't do the applications now, how am I going to get recommendations? Because it will be a year after I finish, like it will be months after I'm finished. How am I going to get in contact with these people? Blah, 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 blah. So I was like kind of stressed about that. And I was like, if I am meant to go to school after my gap year or gap semester, whatever the case may be, God will provide the way. He will let it to be where I can still get in touch with my professors, the ones that are meant for my recommendations, and then I'll be able to get into, like, if it's meant to happen, it'll happen. If I'm meant to go back to school after a year off, then I'll go back to school after a year off. If the gap year is what I needed to have time to fully write and to be able to finally make it, then I don't have to go back to school anymore. So I made a decision that I'm going to take a gap year, and if I go back to school, I go back to school, and if I don't, I don't. I'm kind of hoping I don't have to, because the only reason why I'm going back to school again is to become a teacher. But if I already make it in the industry, I won't have to become a teacher, because I will have made it and I can finally kickstart my career. So now that I have the job that I have, I am in the era where a lot of successful people in the industry, they started off with just having a job to make money, but then they're focusing on their career. So once school is over, I can finally just focus on my career. And because I have a job, I don't have to hear people talking about me getting a job, like get a job, get a job, get a job. I finally have a job. So now I can just I can finally focus on my career. I can finally just write without anyone telling me that I need to be doing other stuff and other stuff is more important. I can finally just write and be at peace and just relax. Like I'm not gonna cry. I finally can just breathe. And the only negative thing that I thought about with the job that I have is that I remember in my other videos I would talk about, the only reason why I'm still with words. That happens a lot when I think so fast. I'm trying to talk at the speed that I'm thinking. That's why I stutter a lot. I gotta slow down. The reason in my other videos, in some of my videos, I would talk about how the reason why I'm still living with my parents is because I don't have the finances to be on my own. Because I went to school away, and that essentially does help you prepare mostly for living life without your parents, in a sense of physically being there, having to be responsible to clean up after yourself. And I went to the 4 years. It was great, and I feel like now I can do that with the next level of an apartment. And obviously, in an apartment, you have to do more stuff. You have to pay for rent. You have to have food. You have to do laundry, all that other stuff. But I feel like the new essential things would be just learning how to deal with my finances, like paying rent, buying food. I already got that down, because at school, half the time the food was either I ate it every single day for 2 months, or the dining hall food was not great. So I would still go to the supermarket and buy my own food. So I know how to buy my own food. It's just a matter of paying for rent and learning how to do with finances, of just doing laundry, and then eventually when I'm 26, paying for life insurance and doing all the whole shebang. Basically, the new step of adulting is finances, and that's is at the back of what I would deal with when I have to. I don't have to deal with that right now. I don't have to deal with life insurance and all that stuff. When I'm 26, maybe then I'll get my own life insurance. But right now, I'm going to just stay under my mother's life insurance, because that's a lot. That's another battle to deal with, and I don't want to deal with it. But anyway, but yeah, so I was thinking about my job, and I realized that now that I have a job, I'm making my own money, but I don't think it would be enough. If I wanted to move out right now, I would obviously have to save up money to be able to eventually buy the things you have to buy with an apartment, like furniture, and then paying a month's rent plus the security deposit, all that stuff, blah blah. And then having a blanket for just in case if you sometimes don't make enough money, you have that as a safety blanket, as a just in case type of stuff. I was thinking, but I wouldn't be able to move out with this money. I make good, this job is a good pay, but it wouldn't be enough to be on my own. And that did make me sad for a little bit. But then I was just I'm in no rush to move out, especially since I have my own money. That's less things my parents had to pay for, and I can pay for on my own. And also now now I can actually help out with stuff. There's been times where I wish I could help out with stuff financially, but I couldn't because I didn't have a job. Now that I have a job, I'm I can help with that. I can help with this and this and this. So there was a thought that did cross my mind, but I was I'm in no rush to move out. And if I really wanted to move out, I can find a way. There can be a way. It may not be the best apartment, but it can be an apartment. I mean, I won't go into a dangerous neighborhood where there's I won't endanger my safety just to be on my own. But if I really want to move out, or if I had a number of roommates, we can all band together, bring our money together, and move out. When the time comes, the time will come. But I'm in no rush. I'm in no rush to move out. I do have an age where I would ideally it would be nice to be out by this age. But if I'm not gonna penalize myself for it. I'm fine. I have a job now. That was the main thing. I have a job now, and I feel a job is essentially tied and connected to success. And no, my job isn't in my field of work, but at least I have something. So I'm not gonna continue going. I could continue talking about the aspects of a job and like basically having this job relieves me from a lot of stress. So I'm very grateful that I got this job. Very grateful. I'm so grateful. Like, I think I would continue telling my friend, thank you for giving me this job. Like, she didn't just give it to me, but she was a connection to help me get it. So I'm very grateful. So if she's watching this, thanks, friend. But yeah. Anyway, now that I've given my life updates about school and a job, now we can finally talk about the topic of this video, of this episode. So like I said, the title is 3 Things I've Learned as an Adult. It might be 4, but essentially it's 3. So 3 things I've learned. I'm going to start off with something that's maybe a little negative, but it'll end on a good note. It'll end on a good note. So there's so many things I've learned as an adult. Now, mind you, I'm only 23, so I still have I have the rest of my life to be an adult, and I have much to learn. But I've been an adult for I've been in my 20s now, technically for 4 years, because if you count the age of 20, 21, 22, 23, that's 4 years if you count 20. But technically, I've been an adult since 18. So technically, I've been an adult for 6 years if you include the age of 18. But I'm just going to include 20s from 20 on. So I'm going to say for the past 4 years of being an adult, these are the few things I've learned. Now, there's so many other things, but these are just the ballpark, the 3 things that I just came up with today that I realized that I've been learning a lot as an adult. So, the first thing that I learned as an adult is I have bullet points right here, so if I look down, it's because I have my notebook here. The first thing I learned is, I'm going to read it exactly as I wrote it. Adults are just as petty as high schoolers, if not worse. Let me just let that settle into your brains for a little bit. Now, when I say adults, I'm going to make this a disclaimer now. I am making a general statement, but that is not saying that every single adult is like that. Because, to be honest, I would be also talking about myself, because I am now an adult. So, when I say adults, I'm generalizing, and I'm not saying all, I'm saying most. So I just want to put the disclaimer there, make it known. But yeah, so like I said, adults are just as petty as high schoolers. And the reason why I say high school is because high school is one of the most dramatic times of your life in the sense of drama. There's so much high school drama. It's just another level of dramatic. Because some of it is like, you do with personal life, mental health stuff, but then the drama is when it's just drama. It has nothing to do, well, sometimes it can be tied to someone's mental health, but most times it's just drama. The drama that high schoolers deal with is unmatched and unreal, because everyone's getting their hormones, everyone's like lusty, and like it is a bunch of things that high schoolers have to go through, because you're in your teenage era, you're going through it's not a phase. Most things people say are a phase actually aren't a phase, but we're not going to talk about that. But some things are phases. Some things, like high schoolers go through a lot. Teenagers, you're in your era where you're learning how to transition from being a kid to a teenager, but then you're slowly, as you go on, you're becoming an adult and trying to figure out how to navigate life and figuring out what you want to do with your life when you're 18, whether go to college, not go to college, whatever the case may be. Essentially, high school is very dramatic. It's a very dramatic time in your life. And the drama that goes down in high school is unreal. It's so crazy. Like, even in middle school, the drama that be happening in my middle school, I could legit write books about, and I just might. Because why not profit? Obviously, I won't put names of the people, but like the people in my personal life, if you are paying attention, you could probably hint at who I'm talking about. But I would never be slandering someone unless they genuinely did something toxic. Then I'll be calling them out. But anyway, but I say that's the reason why I said high school is because high school is like I said, dramatic time in your life. The drama that goes on in high school is crazy and wild. Like, you thought Euphoria was bad, because I feel some people think Euphoria is not realistic, and I thought the same thing a little bit when I first watched the first episode. Like, the first episode came out, I was like, this is a lot. Like, this is kind of like too much for high school. Then I watched the first episode, I think, again, and I was like, no, I didn't watch it the second time. I watched it, when I thought about it, like a year or two later, I was like, you know what? That's actually not incorrect. And I remember one of my, a girl I went to high school with, she was like, people be saying that Euphoria isn't realistic, but this was a regular Tuesday, and I was like, you know what? When you think about it, you're right, because I wasn't like the Euphoria is a very interesting show. I watched both seasons, and it's definitely very sexual. It's obvious, it's very sexual. But to be honest, if you're really thinking about it, high school is just as sexual. Unfortunately, but that's just the reality of it. And I feel like if people, like, I'm not gonna get into that, but basically, high school is dramatic. High school is dramatic. That's all I'm gonna say. And you would think that the older you get, the more mature people would become, in the sense of they would know how to, like, when there's situations and conflicts, they can handle it more calmly. Because when you're in high school, half the time you don't know how to deal with conflict because you were never taught how to deal with it properly, because you were taught that you can never express your emotions. So you just go wild and crazy, or you're just hormonal, and your hormones, you gotta learn how to adjust to them. So you add to the character sometimes. But then you think, okay, now you're used to your hormones because you're an adult, and you become mentally more mature, so you'll be able to deal with things differently, right? That's not the case. That is not the case with a lot of adults. Not all, but a lot. And when it's basically like the people who make a reference as like when you used to sit at the kid table with, like, when you have family gatherings and you would sit at the kid table, then when you go from the kid table to the adult table, you hear all the adult drama and you're like, whoa, or you're like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense, why this and this, da da da. When you hear, basically when you become a kid to an adult and you hear the family drama that goes on or that has been going on, and you're like, jaw dropping. That's the exact same thing as it is with adults. You would think that because we're adults, we would have more common sense and we would be able to think and be able to deal with our problems at a better rate and a better level. No. No. Because a lot of adults, because of a little topic that a little point that I will get into later in this episode, but a lot of adults are immature. A lot of adults are immature, and the only mature thing about them is their age. Let's be realistic, because a lot of adults, they think because they're older, they're more mature, but in reality, you're just older. You're not more mature because you have the same mindset that you had back when you were 18 and you were immature at that point. I'm not saying 18-year-olds are immature. I'm saying, like, when you're 18, you're more likely to have an immature mindset because you just lack the knowledge to better yourself. So you don't know better yet. But then when you're an adult and you learn better, you educate yourself more, you realize that some things that you thought at 18 weren't accurate and now you understand better. But no, you still have that same mindset, or you are aware that the mindset you have is wrong, but you're just choosing not to be different because you don't want to be. Because you think that you have the right to be the way you are because of your age. And it's just like, nope. But like, no. Like, that's not right. That's not correct. That's not a good mindset to have. And you will stay ignorant in that mindset. That's the one thing. And then the arguments that adults get into be crazy. It be crazy. Like, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to explain my examples of adult arguments I've heard. But I've been around arguments. And I've been around people that, like, people... I'm not going to get into it. But I'm going to basically say the arguments that I see adults have, it remind me exactly of high school. Like, when I tell you exactly of high school. And I'm just sitting there flabbergasted by these full-grown, rent-paying, mortgage-having adults having these arguments. And I'm like, age is but a number. That, in the wrong context, that could be taken out of context very severely. Age is a number. If you think age is a number, age is only a number to date minors, go to jail. Go to jail. I say age is only a number with maturity. Because you can be 70 years old and still be just as immature as a 2-year-old. That's all I'm saying. So, I've seen a lot of adults get into arguments, and the arguments be petty. Petty. And also... and it's just like, you would think that in certain environments that, okay, we're all adults here, we can all figure ourselves out. No, that's not the case. Adults are just as petty as high schoolers, and it's crazy. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you guys are literal children. Like, literally, you guys are children. Oh my gosh, it's bewildering. It's flabbergasting. It's crazy. And I'm like, wow, y'all all need to go to therapy. Go go get a therapist or something. Go get counseling. Go do something. Because babes, it makes no sense why y'all are so childish. Crazy. This is not judgment though. I'm not judging people. I'm just like, this is something that I've learned, that I've saw. Because when I first saw it, I was like, y'all are crazy. I'm not going to give my examples because I can't. But I have seen adults be very petty and very childish. And I'm like, and the thing that is so crazy about it is that adults will wring your neck out about, oh, you're youths, you guys know nothing because you're young. I'm so more mature than you because I have all this life experience and I have all this wisdom and blah 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 blah. And then when you get to be at the seat at the table that they finally sit at, you see they are just as childish, if not more, than you, and you're the young one. I'm like, I'm the young one. I should be acting like that, not you. You're supposed to be this person that knows all and be all. Oh, I know this, I know that, blah blah blah, and you know nothing. It was all a lie. It was all a facade. And I think the reason why older adults do that is just to make sure that the young people know that, like, we're not equals, we're not level-headed, I'm here and you're here. It's to belittle them, basically, because they feel like the only way how to, like, make sure they have a title and to feel like they have power is to make sure they bring up age. Because people that bring up your age in an argument or in a statement, 80% of the time is to belittle you. Because a lot of times I'll see people bring up age, and age got when I tell you nothing to do with the conversation, it has nothing to do with the conversation. Because then they'll think that, cause some people will think that age, like actions that people do is because of their age, when in reality it has nothing to do with their age, and it's just it's specifically their personality. Like I was looking at a situation where there were two people doing an action, and then one person was looking at it and was like, oh, like this person thinks like this young person don't know what they're doing. But yet there was a young person and an old person doing both the exact same thing. And then the person that was observing this thing was talking about how the young person knows nothing of what they're doing, and these young people don't know what they're talking about, don't know what they're doing. But the old person was doing the exact same thing as a young person. But yet this person made no notion about the old... I did not mean to do that. If you're not watching, if you're listening, I basically accidentally flicked the camera off. My bad. But basically, I'm gonna have to, because I'm just... It's not intentional. I'm not saying F you. I'm just showing the adult in the situation, okay? So bad. Whatever. Okay, anyway. But basically, there was a young person and an old person doing something, and then this person was basically like they were older than the young person. And whenever the old person was doing this action, they didn't mention age. They just said, oh, it was just their personality. But then when it was a young person doing the action, all of a sudden it's age. And I'm like, bro, that has nothing to do with their age. That's just who they are. So I was just looking at that and I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then sometimes some people, I've noticed that people will use either their age or their title of like who they are, whatever title they have about the person, to just basically let them know, like, oh, you know nothing. I'm older than you, so you don't have the right to talk to me that way. And it's like, do I not have the right to talk to you that way, or do you just have to like what I'm saying? And it's like, even if like I'm younger and I don't know what I'm talking about because I lack the knowledge, this is your chance to educate me. And instead of educating me, you're just telling me that my opinion means nothing. And that's not very productive and mature. For the person that's literally saying that, oh, I'm older, I know better, clearly you don't, because you're being very immature in this aspect right now. Because you can use this time to educate me and tell me that this is something that you may not know right now, but in the future, once you have more life experience or once you have more experience, you can become more educated and know that this is the reason why I'm doing X, Y, and Z, or the reason why I'm doing X, Y, and Z is because of A, B, and C. Instead of using this as an opportunity to educate the young people, they use it as a way to degrade, belittle, and to just make them feel small, just to make sure they still have the power at the end of the argument. Because like a lot of times it makes no sense why an older person will mention age unless it's to make them feel bigger. That's the statement. That's it. Like, that's literally it. Sometimes because of your age, you're not as mature because you don't know yet, or you have little experience. Because when you get older, you get more life experience. But sometimes, unfortunately, some young people are very mature because they've been through a lot. Because basically, the whole concept of maturity is experience. The older you get, the more experiences you have. But some people, with some young people now, we experience so much at such a young age. So we have all this wisdom and all this knowledge because we unfortunately had to go through so much at such a young age. So some people are very mature for their age because they went through a lot. Drama. Anyway, but yeah. So I noticed that about a lot of adults, and it's just very crazy and very interesting. And it's something that I've noticed, and I'm not going to be like, oh, you guys are dumb. No, I'm not saying they're dumb because they're petty. I'm just saying they're petty. Like, that's it. It's something that I've noticed, and I'm like, wow. And then basically, it kind of just showed me that adults will claim they're so mature, and really they're not. Like, a lot of you adults, older adults, will claim to be mature, and you're just as childish. You're just as immature. The only thing you have above me is your age. Like, literally, the only thing you have above me is that you are 20 plus years older than me. That's it. Like, your life experiences didn't teach you anything. You just went through them with some people. And it's just like, it's crazy how they'll use their age to wring young people's necks off about how they know nothing. But it's like, you're claiming to have all this knowledge and all this education, but you're not using it properly, or you're lying about how much you know when you know nothing. Because obviously the child or the young adult will believe you because they're like, oh, well, we're not both adults, so like clearly you would know better. You should know better, but you don't. And it's like, it's very interesting. And I feel like some people do that just so that way they can have some power. And some people, it's just all about power, because proper, mature adults don't have to use their age to make an argument, to make a statement. In most cases. Some cases, it really has to do with age. In most cases, it doesn't, though. And I feel like a lot of people, and I think part of the reason why they use age is because when they were kids, the adults in their lives did the exact same thing to them, so that they felt like it's the right thing to do, it's the thing to do, and then they just trickle it down to their kids, or to the young ones, or to the young ones after them, blase, blase. So that's something I noticed, and it's very interesting, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, but yeah. It's crazy. It's very interesting. Sometimes I find it funny because I'm like, wow, you guys are really crazy. And I'm not saying that I'm more mature than people that are older than me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's crazy how people would use their age to show how mature they are. And in reality, it was all a facade. It was all a dream. It was all imaginary. It was all fictional. That's the thing. It's astonishing. Next thing, friendships. And when I mean friendships, the concept of friendships. More so of when in college and now, as I reflected on my life and past friendships I had, friendships that like I had and faded out, friendships I had, and particularly, I'm gonna be making a movie about something that happened to me in my life, and it's gonna be fictional. But to be honest, a lot of things that I'm gonna write about are personal experiences because I'm a writer. It's what I do. But a few years ago, I had a really kind of sad thing that happened with a friendship. It was a falling out, essentially, and it really rocked me for like a long time. Like, basically, I would say for 2 years I was very distraught about it, in the sense of I was really upset that it happened, but really sad that it ended. Like, I was mourning the friendship for like 2 years. I couldn't even think of the person without being really sad about what happened, and it really hurt me for a long time. And then after 2 years, I would like write like stories about it, like in my classes, and then some people were like, this person wasn't a good friend at the end, or like the way how they reacted to things, wasn't great. But yeah, but that falling out made me look at friendships kind of like a lot, and how like in high school, mostly high school, there were times where I gave people titles that I shouldn't have given them, in the sense of I was expecting this person to be my best friend, or expecting this person to be this close to me because I wanted them to be close to me, because I had a tendency where, because of how I met them and how long I've known them, I get sentimental with people, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna be best friends, we're gonna be friends forever. I romanticize and think of a future of me with this person, like we're gonna be friends forever. I would think about that. I would think that with every friend, or with every person that I met that became a friend, or that was an acquaintance. I would think, oh, we're going to be friends forever. We're going to know each other for all eternity, and it's going to be great. I have another friend that's perfect. And then I was basically, in college, I realized that there are some people that clearly didn't want that. Same. They were not thinking the same thing with me. Like, I would have someone that I would want them to be my best friend. And then they would show me through their actions that they did not want to be my best friend. Not because they didn't like me as a person, but just more so we wouldn't click as best friends, or we just wouldn't click for the long haul. And it was something that, like, definitely there's a few instances where there was one situation where they didn't tell me up front, I didn't really want to be your best friend, or like, I didn't really see us being friends for a long time. And I think it's because they just didn't know how to tell me. They probably felt bad and didn't want to hurt my feelings, which I understand. But like, I'm over here thinking we're friends, like, inside of school and outside of school, and we're gonna be friends for the long haul. And then when school is over, the conversations dwindle down, the hangouts become less, not because of life, because they just didn't want to hang out with me. And it did hurt seeing that, and I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. Like, I thought we were gonna be friends for a while, then to find out you didn't want to be my friend. And I remember now okay, I gotta also make another disclaimer, because people in my personal life I will be possibly talking about some people. I'm not gonna say any names because I did that one time in the past and I feel really bad about it. Like, I had a blog right after high school. I made some blog. I had a blog, and then I made some posts about people and I put their names in it. I shouldn't have done that. And for those people, I'm sorry that I did that. I wasn't trying to, I didn't have ill intentions behind it. I wasn't trying to, like, make them be the villain. It was just me just expressing how I felt about situations, and I shouldn't have put their names in it. So if you're watching this video and I put your name in a blog post that I posted after high school, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. It was not out of ill intention. I was just trying to, like, talk about life experiences and how I felt about them, blah, blah. I was just trying to express myself, and I didn't do it in the proper way. So I'm sorry. I hope that you can forgive me. I'm sorry. I felt bad that I did that, because I look back at that and I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. I think I took the post down. Once I realized I shouldn't have done that, I took the post down. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Anyway, moving on. So there was a situation where I had a friend, and I remember them making a post, because it was like a post, like, you know how when people make posts and it's like a post that could be trending, like, oh, they'll have a quote and then you'll repost it because you agree with that quote, or you'll repost it and then you add your own, like, information, like, oh yeah, I relate to this because of X, Y, and Z. This person made a post, and basically it was like, oh, when someone asks you to hang out and you say, oh yeah, I'll let you know, but really you don't. That's just your way of saying you don't want to hang out with them. And the person made that post, and they're like, oh yeah, there's like kind of a lot sometimes, blah blah. And when they made that post, I was like, ouch, because I was one of the people that I would actually hang out with them, and they say, oh yeah, I'll let you know. So basically, I found out through a post that I'm the person that they don't want to hang out with, but they just don't know how to say no. So they just say, oh yeah, I'll let you know, and never make plans. And I was like, oh, I'm the person you're talking about. And it wasn't targeted to me, but it was just like, yeah, I do this to people too. And I was like, oh, so we're not gonna be friends, really. Like, we're gonna be acquaintances, but like, we're not gonna be like still in each other's lives as friends, in the sense of like hanging out and getting to know each other still, and like, catching up with each other. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. So then I was just like, oh, okay. So I became okay with the concept of just being okay with just being social media friends, where we follow each other on social media and we'll maybe say happy birthday, Thanksgiving, maybe Christmas, Happy New Year, and that's it. And it took me a minute. It didn't take me that long. Like, it didn't take me years. It took me maybe like a few months to get like used to it. And then I think it took me maybe a year to be like okay with the concept that this is going to be how it is, and it's okay that happened. And I have no animosity towards this person that I'm talking about, like, no hate, all love. Like, I hope this person thrives in life. Like, I'm chill with them, but it just like, it's something that I had to like experience, and I was like, that kind of sucks, but okay. And that's like, and it's stuff like that where it's like people feel some type of way about you, but they won't tell you, and that makes me actually really anxious, because it's like, I hate when people feel some type of way about me and don't tell me, because it's like, I don't know you feel that way about me unless you really tell me. Like, if you don't tell me that I'm doing something that's a problem or doing something that's like should be talked about, I will keep doing it. Not because I don't care or because I think I'm getting away with it. It's because I genuinely don't know. So I remember one time when I had a friend and they if they're watching this video, they know I'm talking about them. But one of my best friends, at one time, she did try to call me her best friend. And I said no. I was like, we are not best friends. Because at the time, I had another best friend already. I was like, I already have a best friend. So, and I may have been a little bit mean. Maybe. Maybe I had a tone that I shouldn't have had. But I did essentially say, we're not best friends. We're just friends because I already have a best friend. But then there was a summer we were together. And at the end of that summer, I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe we are best friends because, you know, we're cool. We're cool like that. So I was like, okay, we can be best friends or whatever. And now we're best friends. And we're still best friends to this day. She knows what I'm talking about. If she's watching this, she knows I'm talking about her. Hey, friend. Anyway, so, and it's like, I did that because I was like, at least I would let her know that I don't think of her as a best friend. Because I didn't want her thinking that we're best friends and I'm not ready for that title yet. And I think the concept of friendships is, basically, like I said, whenever I would meet someone, I would romanticize a friendship with them and thinking they're going to be in my life forever. And I realized I had to stop doing that because I end up being hurt at the end because I'm thinking we're going to be friends forever. And then when I want to keep in touch with them and they don't talk to me as much anymore, they just kind of just stop and only follow me on social media, I get hurt almost every time or like a lot. And I was like, I had to learn that it's nothing bad against me. It's just like either they already have friends they're cool with or they're just like, we were just friends for a season. And seasonal friends is what I had to realize. Seasonal friends aren't bad. They don't have to be bad. It's just you were friends for a season. They serve the purpose. And then, you know, you move on with your life. And sometimes some people stay around. Sometimes some people don't. And that's okay. You know, because if the friendship wasn't toxic, if it was just a friendship that faded, it happens. It's natural. It's life. And I'm not saying that you just become friends with people and you never stay close to anybody. Like, if you're trying to, like, keep in contact with people and they're not showing the same effort of communication and you don't understand why. Like, I have some friends that, like, I don't talk to as often, but I just know they genuinely just have a busy life. So, like, I don't keep in contact with them. Like, I don't text them that often. But then when I do text them, like, if I do want to hang out with them, they'll make the time to actually hang out with me. Like, I have some busy friends. Like, I had one friend that homeboy is always busy. He is always booked and busy. He really has time to, like, just vibe. But, like, if I ask him, oh, hey, you want to hang out? He would either tell me, oh, I'm busy right now, but, like, let's find time where we're both free and we can hang out. He would actually make the effort to hang out with me. And then when we hang out, it's a wonderful time. Genuine friendship. And that's a friend where it's like, I don't have to text him every single day or every single month to know that he's still my friend. And I really appreciate that. So it's like, there's some people that you won't talk to every single day or see all the time, but you do know that if you text them to hang out with them, they'll be down to hang out with you because, you know, they actually value your friendship. And there's some friends that, like, I haven't talked to in a while, but I know if I text them and just ask to keep in contact with them, like, oh, hey, how you been? Oh, yeah, I've been good. It's not like we'll actually have a conversation. If I ask to hang out with them, if they have time, they'll say yes. So I learned that it's like, you know, there's some people that, you know, you don't have to text all the time. And there's some people that, like, you know, you may have been really close in one season, but then as time went on, when you got into different environments, you weren't as close anymore. And that's also okay. Like, it happens. But yeah, so I noticed that. And I noticed that I had to start romanticizing relationships and some, like, friendships. And I did that with one other friend where I gave them a title. And they were nice, saying that, like, I see you as a close friend. I don't see you as a best friend, but we're close. And I was like, okay, cool. And I think I asked them, like, 2 or 3 times. Like, oh, are we best friends? And they're like, we're close. Like, we're close friends, but we're not. I wouldn't say we're best friends. Like, I don't see you as that. And I'm like, okay, at least we're close, you know? And they were nice about it. So it's just like, I had to, and it's like, when we slowly end up not really talking, it was also the situation where it's like, I wasn't mad. Like, I wasn't mad at anybody, but it was just more of like, it didn't hurt as much because it was like, at least they were always honest with how they felt about me and that friendship. So I did appreciate that. But I just had to learn how to deal with friendships. And because of, like, past experiences with friendships where sometimes I would be the odd one out, where I would be left out of certain things, and I would, like, because I was left out in some things, I had a fear of, like, every friend group I made that somehow I would be the odd one out and I would be the one left out. And I always had that fear. So sometimes whenever I have my friends, sometimes I'm thinking, are my friends really my friends? Or are they going to eventually not be my friend anymore? I did something to annoy them. And then I would ask them, hey, are we still friends? And they don't get mad at me at all because they know that sometimes, you just want to, like, they know, like, they don't, I'm not really gonna get into that, but they see me be anxious, and they see my highs, they see my lows, and they understand, and they're not gonna say like they don't want me to get better, but in the sense that they understand and they help. They're helpful. So whenever I'm like having a moment and I'm just like blurting out all my anxious thoughts to them, they're like, okay, it's okay. I understand you feel that way. Let me like help you out to calm down a little bit. And I'm like, thanks, I appreciate it. But yeah, like sometimes I have another best friend where she was the one that told me that she saw me as a best friend, because I was too scared to say it, because basically it was my other best friend, my college best friend. We were first roommates for our freshman year, and then sophomore year we were neighbors because one of my other friends asked her to be roommates before I got to ask her. Like, I asked her, but she already said yes to someone else, and she was like, damn, if you would have asked me before, I would have said yes to you and we could have been roommates. But it worked out. It's fine. So we ended up being roommates for 1 year, and then there was a semester where we were roommates, but we also had 3 classes together because I didn't have a solid schedule, because all the classes that I wanted to take or need to take were full. So because when you're a freshman, in the concept of college, freshmen pick their schedules last, so we get the last minute, the leftovers of classes essentially. And I had leftovers, and I literally had to be like, can I copy your schedule, because I have no classes. I have like 2 classes and I need to take 5, so I need 3 classes to fill my schedule to be full time. So then I basically took 3 of the classes that she was also taking, and we ended up having 3 classes together. And I was scared that like us being like roommates and then having 3 classes together would like tarnish our friendship, but it bonded us and made us closer as friends. And then at the end of that semester, I was like, I see her as my best friend, but I didn't want to give her that title because I was scared that I would give it to her and she would reject me, and I didn't like rejections at the time. We're not gonna talk about that. But then I remember at the end of sophomore year, I think we were texting about something, and then she told me how she missed me being her roommate. And I was shocked when she said that. I was like, really? Because I knew I missed being her roommate, but I was shocked that she actually said that. I was like, really? Because I also miss having you as a roommate, but and then she was like, oh yeah, and then I see you as like a best friend. She was like, oh, I think she said I was like an annoying sister to her or something. And when I tell you, I almost cried. I'm not gonna cry, but I have a thing where when people call me their like best friend or a close friend, I get very emotional. I'm gonna cry. Oh my gosh. It's not bad tears, it's happy, because basically, because of, like I said, I would romanticize friendships a lot. I would give people titles that they didn't want or show they didn't deserve. So basically I would have these titles to people, but I wouldn't tell them. I would just like keep it to myself and just wait and see if they would want it. And then when they showed me that they wanted that title because they thought the same way as me, like they thought I was their best friend too, I was like, I was very emotional. So when she told me I was like an annoying sister to her, I took that with such gratitude, and I was like, girl, you're gonna make me cry. You just said I was like a sister to you. Like, what? That's unheard of. She did say annoying, but like she was obviously like, she wasn't saying it to be rude. She was just like, oh, you're like an annoying sister, like a person that you love. Like there's things that annoy you about them, or the things that are like just like, whatever, but you love them. Like my brother's annoying to me sometimes, but I love him unconditionally. Like I love that boy more than anyone else in this entire world. But he's annoying, but I still love him. So it's like basically like that, where it's like you things that are annoying about them, but you love them like crazy. And I was like, what? You think of me like that? Me, little old me. So yeah, I was very happy. And then even now, like sometimes I'll wonder, I'm like, are we still close? Are we still really best friends? And then she'll be like, oh, something best friend, and I'm like, we still besties. But anyway, so it's stuff like that. And then so now and it's like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I have had the luxury of not having a single toxic friendship where it was like toxic, like I shouldn't be in it anymore. There were some friends I had that like had character traits that I didn't vibe with all the way, or that like there were certain things that they did that I shouldn't have tolerated. And to a certain degree, I didn't. But like, there were some things where it was just like, they would do things that I wouldn't really like. That's not who I am as a person. And then I would just sit there and not like, like, it's not because if I watched them like bully people or anything like that. It's just more of like, if they're a gossiper, I would just sit there and hear them gossip. I wouldn't contribute really at all, but I would just sit there and let them gossip. And sometimes I would just think about the gossip they're talking about. I'm like, you really don't have to like say all that. You really could have just kept that to yourself. But then they just kept talking, and I was like, okay. But yeah, stuff like that. So it's just like, I never had a toxic friendship, but it was just like, there was some times where friends, like, I remember one time I did have a friend. I found out a friend was talking about me behind my back, and it was in high school. And one of my friends, like, basically we were having a conversation, and we were talking, and we were texting about something, because basically my junior year I got very close to a lot of people, and then two of my friends were talking about how they felt like I got really close to them, and they were really happy that we were friends, and it's like, oh my gosh, I want to be friends with you even after college, like, you're such a good person. And I was like, oh wow, things like that's so nice. And then basically she was telling me this because she was saying her and one of our other friends were talking about how much, like, basically how like nice of a friend I am to them, and how they really appreciate my friendship with them, and how they want to be friends with me after, like, even after college, this and that. And then she was saying that, and then after that she was like, oh, and I feel really bad because, like, at one point, like, I did talk crap about you with so and so. And I read that, and it was through the text. And I never forgot this day because I was on the bus with one of my best friends, and with my high school best friend, the one that I rejected, and then eventually I was like, nah, we besties. I was on the bus with her. We were coming home from something. I think we were coming home from like volleyball practice or something. We were coming home from something, and I think volleyball practice. But we were coming home, we were on the bus, and I was sitting on the bus, and I read the text, and I just sat there, and I was like, ouch. I was like, wow, that hurts. And then I remember reading the text. I wasn't angry at her. I was just disappointed. And I wasn't disappointed. I was sad. I was sad that a person that I was getting close to, I find out that they were talking about me behind my back. Like, they were trash talking. Not trash talking. I said trash because I didn't want to curse. But they were talking about me behind my back. And I found out, and they told me, and I was like, well, I'm not going to sit here and say that doesn't hurt. I thank you for telling me and being honest about it, but I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't hurt because that does. But I appreciate that you told me. And she was like, yeah, I feel really sorry. I'm so sorry that, like, I talked about you behind your back with so-and-so. And then the other person that I found out was talking about me too. Like, they were talking behind my back about me too. That also did hurt a lot because this person, I romanticized our friendship, like, a lot, and I thought we were going to be best friends. And then to find out that they were talking about me behind my back, and this person never told me. I don't know if they even know that I found out that. I don't know if they continue to talk about me behind my back. I think it was just like it happened in a moment or something, or like it happened in an instant or something like that. And to be honest, this person would talk about a lot of their friends behind their backs. Like, this person in high school was a gossiper. And I'm not saying this to degrade, to belittle, but it was just more of just like something I observed. And because I noticed who they were or what they were doing, I would try my best to give them no reason to gossip about me. I was like, I don't want them gossiping about me, so I try my best to, like, be on my best behavior around them and to not give them a reason to talk about me. And then basically to find out that it didn't matter what I did, they still found something to talk about. I didn't ask what. She just told me that they were trash. They talked about me behind my back, and she felt bad. That's what she told me, because she realized how much of a good person I was. So she felt bad when she realized that she was trash talking a good person, and she felt bad. She was apologizing. So I never confronted that person that she was also trash talking with. I never confronted them because it just hurt too much to even acknowledge, to even like say, to talk about. I never confronted them about it, and I don't care to now because, you know, like I said, no animosity, no hatred for this person, because I still follow them on social media. If there's a birthday, I'll still tell them happy birthday. Like, I still reach out to people that don't talk to me just to be nice. Like, oh, hey, happy birthday. Oh, hey, Merry Christmas. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy New Year. I still do those little things because I just like doing that. And if they want to be my friend, if they want to continue conversation and want to pick up our friendship, I'm so open to that. I'm so happy to do that. Because it's not like as if they're a bad person. They just do bad things. And that's what this person was basically doing. Like, they're not a bad person. They just had character traits that, like, weren't the best sometimes. So that's just what happened. And again, this is not to say that I'm no way by saying I'm better than them because I don't gossip, because I'm pretty sure one or two times when they were talking, I did include myself in the conversation and I did say some things, or I never stood up to them and said, hey, maybe you shouldn't say that. I never stood up to them. So that's the thing. So it's like, I can talk about how much of a gospel they are, but I never stood up to them. And it wasn't because I was scared. I just didn't know what to say, so I just didn't say anything. And I was a bystander. And being a bystander is just as bad as a person doing the action. So I'm at fault too. But yeah, but basically, that I remember that happening, and then I kind of grew a fear of friendship in the sense of I was scared that people that I thought were going to be close to me, that I wanted to be my best friend, that I wanted for them to have a title, that they wouldn't want it back, because I've done it so many times, and I've seen that people that I want to be my best friend, or people that I want to be my friend forever, didn't be my friend forever. They were my friend for a season. And I didn't understand that concept of seasonal friends, and that it's okay that that happens. So whenever it happened, I felt really sad about it. But yeah, so I learned that, and now looking back at those friendships, I'm like, it was just a part of life. It happens, you know? Like, some people, it's not to say that you can't have friends forever, that you can't have a friend from kindergarten, first grade, second grade, fifth grade, high school, middle school. It's not to say those friendships can't last, because I recently in August went to a concert with one of my friends from like elementary school, and we still kept in touch through social media, but then we both was like, hey, let's go to this concert together, and we went, and it was a great time. I had a great time with her, and it was cool. And it was like, we were like, oh, we should hang out more often whenever we, like, you know, both have time on our busy schedules. And I love that. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's not to say that you can't have those friendships, but if they don't last, it's okay, basically. I didn't understand that until now. So now that I look back at those friendships, I'm like, yeah, it's okay that, you know, I'm not that close with this person. Because, you know, I have my close friends, and every single one of my friends I trust, like, so wholeheartedly. And there's some friends that, like, I just automatically tell things to. There's some friends that when they ask, I'll tell them because I just didn't go up to them right away. But it's not because I didn't want to tell them, because I just didn't think to tell them, or it just didn't come up to tell them. So the friends that I have now, I love them dearly. I also think I've learned to value quality over quantity. Like, yeah. So I learned to value that, because I feel like with friendships, because growing up as an only child, I was an only child to the age of 13. So I grew up as an only, like, basically from, like, I mean, when you're a teenager, you're still a child, but childhood in the sense of from age of 0 to 13, I was an only child. So because of that, sometimes when growing up as an only child, people think of the positive things. Your parents can pay more attention to you. Your parents have more money to buy things that you want. And I did have those things, but I was also very lonely. I grew up lonely, and I grew up to eventually hate being alone. I hated being alone, so I always wanted to have a bunch of friends to make sure I was never alone. And then because of that, that's why sometimes there were some things that I shouldn't have tolerated that I did, because I was like, I would rather be their friend. I would rather just deal with this and still be their friend than not have them as a friend, because then that's one less friend I have. So that's why, and like I said, nothing that I dealt with was toxic. Like, if there was a toxic person that I didn't vibe with, I was quick to cut them off. But with certain things where it's like I could have just had a conversation with someone or talked to someone about something, I didn't, because I just didn't know how to, or was scared that if I did, I wouldn't be their, they would not want to be my friend anymore, and I would lose that friendship. And I was like, I would rather just deal with this bad trait that they have than to risk losing them as a friend. And now I realize that doing that is not good, because if you just have a conversation with them and they don't want to talk about it, like just attributes that they may not have to be a better person, that's not a friend to have. And I know that now. So that was something that I definitely learned as an adult. And now all the friends I have, like, I have a handful. I also have 2 handfuls. Like, if I extend, like, if I think, like, best friends, I have 2. There's another person that won't be my best friend, but I haven't asked her. So, but yeah, but I have two that I keep in contact with. One I still consider a best friend, but she has been MIA. For whatever reason, I'm not judging her or anything. You know, I still text her every now and then. I'm like, hey, she don't text back though. But, you know, I don't know what she's going through, so I don't know why she hasn't been talking to me. So, you know, I'm not judging her or anything. There's another person that is a close friend of mine. And, you know, I'm close friends with her, and we're close. So, but yeah, that's friendships. I've talked about that for a hot minute. Okay, I think we'll just do one more, and then the next one I'll probably do maybe a part 2 of things I learned as an adult, because this is already an hour long. So, the last thing that I learned not the last thing, but the last thing I'm going to talk about is healing is hard. This is something that I've been learning for the past, I would say, honestly, for the past year and a half, maybe 2 years, ever since I was like, this is something that mostly was strictly for in my 20s that I've learned that healing is hard, because I talked about it multiple times in my YouTube videos and on my podcast about my struggles with mental health and just my mental health journey, and healing from that is hard. I can make a whole, this in itself is a whole podcast episode, like a hour, 2 hour, a series, because this is when we go into the part where this is just for a therapist to hear. I'm not going to get into details because it would be way too long. Way too long. But healing is hard. And it's hard because you have to unlearn habits that you learned when you were in survival mode. There were a lot of bad habits or just habits that I developed in high school because I was just simply existing. And I was just like, well, I just got to get through this mode. I was in survival mode in high school specifically, where I was just learning how to I don't know how to navigate this part of my life, so I'm just dealing with it the best way I can, which is either not dealing with it at all, distracting myself, making myself constantly busy and then constantly being burnt out, or just like just roasting everyone in my life. I was a roaster in high school. Like, it was not fun. It was not cute. It was funny sometimes. Sometimes it was funny. Other times it was just mean. I will not lie. I wasn't a bully. I hope I wasn't a bully. No, I wasn't a bully. I wasn't bullying people. Because if I figured out that what I said to them hurt their feelings, I would apologize. But I did initially would say mean things. Like, there was one time I made this very awful joke to someone. I still think about this to this day. I made a bad joke. I'm not going to say what the joke was because I don't want to get canceled. It's not like controversial, racist, or anything like that, but it was out of pocket. And I remember this joke. I made a joke to one of my friends in freshman year of high school, and I made the joke. I thought it was genuinely funny, and they looked at me, and everyone around me that heard the joke was like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, wait, oh no, this isn't funny. Oh no, I made a big mistake. I am so sorry. I did not mean, because like basically essentially the joke was a little bit fat shaming. And I, by no means, was I trying to fat shame this person. Now, I say it was a fat shaming joke because I only made the joke because of their body. But the reason why I made the joke is because in elementary school, people would make jokes about each other's bodies. And we made jokes about each other, but it was consensual and it was okay because we knew we weren't trying to hurt each other. It was to be funny. We made jokes about my body, I made jokes about their bodies, and it was funny, it was fine, it was okay. And now, if I found out that those jokes I made actually hurt them, I would have apologized. So that's why in high school, I was like, oh, this is going to be a funny joke. And I feel kind of bad because I thought about this joke really quick in like a split of a second. And I thought this was going to be so funny. And then when I saw that it wasn't funny, I was like, oh, this is bad. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't trying to be mean. Like, I felt so, to this day, I still feel bad about that joke. I don't feel shameful about the joke. I just feel bad. The lighting is changing a lot. Oh, that's whatever. The sun is coming up and going away. But, the exposure. Jesus Lord. Okay. That doesn't make it any better. Whatever. Anyway, I made that joke about my friend, and I felt really bad. And I was like, I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's the type of person that I would be. Like, sometimes I would make jokes that were really mean, but it wasn't malicious intention. Unless you hurt my friends. Then I was verbally roasting you. And it was good. I was glad I hurt your feelings. But yeah. So, what was the point of that? Healing. Healing is hard. Because you have to unlearn habits. You have to, first, in order to heal, you have to acknowledge that what you went through, the pain that you went through was was valid. And for the longest time, I never had validation in my pain. And then it didn't take until college where other people that either went through the same thing, similar things, or had education on the pain that I was dealing with was like, you're going through a lot and your feelings are valid, your pain is valid, and you should like maybe try to see some help. Once I had that, I was like, whoa. The emotions that I've been dealing with that I was just called names for actually are valid emotions and feelings. And like, I'm not just like being this sensitive twat that people portrayed me to be. That twat was a rough word. I don't know why I said that. No one called me a twat. I just put that in there. But yeah, like there was pain that I went through that I was just like, people were just like, you don't even know what you're like. You know nothing about pain. You have no concept of pain. Like I go through pain. You go through nothing. And I'm like, so why do I feel like this? But anyway, and then it took me in college to then people were just like, no, that's pain. That's pain. Basically, I was in the mindset of people have it worse, so I don't have any pain. But that's not true. Just because people have it worse, it doesn't mean you don't have it bad. It does not mean you don't have it bad. And when people say that, it's because sometimes a way to like help yourself feel better is saying, this is bad, but it could be worse, and I'm grateful that it's not worse. But it also can be used as gaslighting. My mouth. You know when you talk a lot and you get that white line around your lip? I don't want to show that I have it. I don't know if I have it or not. But anyway, when you use it to make someone feel small, or when you use it to show someone that they shouldn't express their emotions, that's a form of gaslighting. And I experienced that a lot of my life. So I was gaslighted. I was gaslighted a lot. And it made me feel small, insecure. I questioned my identity as a person, and I was sad about it. Then I realized that the people that told me those things, honestly, just didn't know any better, or just didn't really fully understand how heavy the pain was. And with that, that's my last thing, is that sometimes I guess these kind of intertwine, but my extra point was some people do bad things because they genuinely don't know any better. And some with the healing, a lot of things that happened to me, sometimes it was because people just didn't know. They didn't know how bad it was, or they just didn't know that that was wrong. And with that, I'm like, okay, understandable. And sometimes some people think because they learned, they shouldn't have to acknowledge that they cause pain. And sometimes they're like, okay, yeah, I did cause pain. My bad. Very far and few, the second one. But mostly the first one, sometimes low key. And I'm like, okay, I guess, whatever. But yeah. So yeah, know what to heal. You have to acknowledge the pain that you experienced was real and valid. And then you have to unlearn habits you developed during your survival mode. And I put quotes because that's basically the phase that you're in, is survival. You're in the trenches and you just have to survive. And once you're out of that, and because I feel like in order for you to get out of survival mode, you have to acknowledge that this is a period of life that is not good, and being in this mindset and being in this event is not good, and you should get some help, or you should like do something to change it. And then, or like, let's say, prime example, my survival mode was high school. High school was the worst 4 years of my entire life. Plain and simple. Not all because of the school I went to, but just the mind. I'm talking about my 4 years of high school in general were terrible. In the sense of the period of high school. Like 14 to 18, those 4 years of my life were horrible. That sounded rough. Mentally, they were horrible. Somewhat in my school, but I'm talking mostly mentally. Because when I look back at how I was from 14 to 18, I want to give my younger self a hug. Because Shorty was really going through it. It was giving, you want to know why? I'm going to make a video about The Perks of Being a Wallflower, the movie, because I talk about the movie a lot. I did make a video about it, but then I didn't edit it, and I don't think I'm going to edit it, so I'm going to make another video about it. But the reason why I love that movie so much is because I related to Charlie so much. Like, Charlie was me, I was Charlie. We were one and the same. We were the same person. It was giving Charlie from The Perks of Being a Wallflower. That's how I was in high school. And if you watch the movie, you know, I didn't go through exactly everything that Charlie went through because Homeboy was SA'd as a kid by his aunt. Oh, should I have said that? Oh, that was a spoiler. Oh, I'm sorry. Oopsies. Well, it's 10 years old. That movie came out in 2012. If you haven't watched it by now, then watch the movie. It's a good movie. But he was SA'd as a kid. He was experiencing PTSD. I don't think I've experienced, I haven't been diagnosed with anything, so I don't know what I've been dealing with. But, I do know that Because I remember Charlie saying a quote, and he was saying, something along the lines of, "I'm happy and sad at the same time, and I don't know how that can be." Something along those lines. But the part where he was saying, "I'm happy and sad at the same time," that is one of the best ways I can describe how high school was for me, where it's like I have happy moments, but overall I was really depressed. Like, Shorty was going through it. Shorty was in the trenches. I was in the trenches in those 4 years because of this. And it's like, I can't even explain. There's so many layers. There's too many layers. There's too many layers to it. But I am not like in that state of mind anymore. A lot of the things that I felt in high school, I don't feel anymore, which I am so grateful to God. Thank God I am not in the same mindset anymore. And there's some things that happened in high school that either I completely forgot or I remember and they were traumatizing, or yeah, either I forgot it or I remember that it was traumatizing. So I'm in the healing phase, and I think because of all the layers that I have, it's gonna take a minute to heal. But that's not to say that it's like, and this is an aspect of sometimes I kind of feel, I'm not going to get into that. And that's something for like another episode. But the short circuit, sometimes when it comes to healing, this is a Christian thing. I'll see people say, "I've been healed. I've been delivered from this." And I'm so happy for them. And then sometimes comparison is a thief of joy. Don't compare yourself. Don't compare your deliverance from others. Don't compare your healing process. Don't compare yourself to other people, essentially. Comparison has been, it was a big thing for me for like literally my entire life. Since I was in elementary school, I was comparing myself to people. That's a concept. Comparison was a root because I was being compared to, and I was comparing myself to people a lot. And comparison, it stemmed. It was the root of a lot of my mental issues. So, whatever, not the podcast for it. But, where was I going with this? Healing. Yeah. Sometimes I feel bad because I feel like, sometimes it feels like, oh, how come I haven't been healed yet from that? And the reality is, it's just like my process isn't finished. I still have some time to go. Because some people, it takes them some time. Some people, they get delivered really quickly. And then sometimes I feel bad because some people be like, oh, if you aren't delivered yet, or if you aren't healed yet, it's because you're doing something wrong. And that's not always the case. Like sometimes, rarely ever is that actually the case. Sometimes it is, most times it's not. Especially when it comes to mental health, it is a roller coaster. It's a teeter-totter. And yes, God can do it. It's just a matter of when. So, I had to remind myself that sometimes. And it is a process. It is a journey that I am on. I'm currently on my healing journey. And some days it's harder than others. But I will be healed. And I have talked about my mental health. But I think now I can take further steps into working on it legit, like really working on it. Not saying that I haven't tried before, but like I'm able to have access to other tools to like legit get some help. So healing is hard, but it's something that you go through. And the point that I made about in that, I was saying you have to fight to get better even when you don't have the energy to keep going. And because I'm a Christian, whenever I feel any ounce of exhaustion, I'm like, God, take it away. Take it away because I can't do it myself. And you know it. And I'm not saying you have to wait until you're exhausted to pray. Like you can like, even if you feel one bad thing, you should rely on like the Christian aspect of it is you should rely on God to help you because he is a healer. He's a deliverer. He can help anything and everything. So whenever I am like, sometimes I'm trying to like take the steps that I learned to like deal with it. Then other times when I see that those steps aren't working or they worked, but then it's getting bad again, I'm like, like, take it away. Get rid of this. I can't do this anymore. Please. And then like, I'm fine. No, I'm just kidding. I gotta stop doing that because I'll say I'm fine. That could be a Gen Z thing. I don't know. But anyway, But yeah, I definitely I'm getting better at talking about my problems to people. Because in high school, I didn't say squat. I didn't say squat. I said nothing. My lips were sealed. And in high school, I was so good at hiding it. But I feel like at the same time, it was a combination of me being good at hiding it, but also me being around people that just didn't know the signs. Because then in college, I would tell people how I was in high school, and they're like, oh yeah, that's this, and this. And I was like, huh? Like, I remember one time I wrote an essay about how insecure I was about myself in high school. Like, basically, one insecurity that I had, I felt like I was ugly. Like, in high school, I genuinely believed that I was ugly. Like, that I was ugly, ugly, ugly. Like, I would even argue, I'm not gonna, is that bad for me to say? Fugly? I'm not cursing in it. I would say effing ugly. I believe that was that, like, ugly, ugly. So, I wrote a paper about it in my my English Comp 2 class. And I look back at it now because I think it's funny because, I wasn't mad about the situation. It was just like something I look back on and I think is really funny. Because I wrote a paper about my insecurities and talking about how, because also I would compare myself to my friends because I thought all my friends were very pretty, because all my friends were pretty and they would get a lot of attention from people and I wouldn't, and I was like, oh, so it must be because I'm ugly, because I already was thinking I was ugly, and then because I wasn't getting attention from anyone, I was like, oh, I'm definitely ugly because I'm getting no attention from all my friends. I'm around my friends, seeing them get attention from people, and I get no attention, and I was like, damn, I really am ugly, and they're thinking the same thing because no one wants me. Because I went from getting a little bit of attention. Like, I wasn't like flustered with all the boys wanting me. Like, I'm not saying that. Like, I did get attention in middle school. Like, I had some crushes. I had some people like me, and I told them no. I did have a boy show me interest in high school. Well, I had two. One I said no because we had a history. And no. And the second one, we did talk, and then he wanted to meet me in person because he was a friend of a friend, and then he wanted to meet me. I got really, like, flabbergasted by it, and not flabbergasted, I was flustered, and I said no. I bailed on him, and I felt bad, and then he didn't talk to me again after that. But then we met again later in life, and we were cool. But yeah, so, like, I did get a little bit of attention, but it wasn't, like, in school. Like, I did talk to, like, one or two boys, a few. But whatever. That's not the point. Was I wrote this paper, and I remember my teacher. He was a TA. I remember we had to go to office hours, basically to go to office hours to talk about the feedback on the paper, what we could do better, blah blah. I go to the office hours, and he looks at my paper. He gave me the feedback, and then at the end of it, before I left, he also. I think it's funny because it was really sweet of him to, like, do this. Basically, long story, it's not a long story, but basically he told me because you can read through the paper the insecurities I had in high school and how bad and severe they were. And he basically essentially told me that he recommended that I should go to the psych center on campus to go see a therapist. And he said this because he was like, he remembers when he was at that point in his life when he was also insecure about himself because he's on the skinnier side, and he felt insecure about his body. So then he went to the psych center on campus to get some help, and then he also was like, he was taking action to, like, go to the gym to, like, work out to get more buff. Not buff, to, like, basically to work on his body. And he knows what it's like to be insecure about how you look, about your appearance. So he basically was like, he saw someone that needed help, and he was basically like, oh, maybe you should go to the psych center and go get some, like, see someone. And he said it in the most nicest way possible. He was so nice and sincere about it, but it just threw me in for a loop because I was just like, I need to go get professional help. I was like, I should go see a therapist. That was the first time someone has ever told me that. Like, that was the first time someone has ever, like, I talked about a problem I had, and they told me, oh, okay, maybe you should go talk to someone about that. And I was like, you're not just going to tell me this is normal, this is natural, and to get over myself, and that I'm doing too much? You're not going to gaslight me? This is genuine care about my emotions. this is weird. Like, I was like, this is weird. And I told my roommate about it. And then she was like, oh, that was nice. And that was very interesting. I never went. I was thinking about some at one point, but then I heard the center was not good, so I didn't go. I didn't hear good things about the center on campus, so I just didn't go. I didn't go for myself, but I didn't want to go. I was terrified of having a bad experience to go see a therapist, and then I would never want to go again because I've heard that happen sometimes. So, but that was a freshman year of college. But that was basically to show that in college, when I would tell people all the experiences, the pains that I dealt with in high school, everyone was like, yeah, I understand that. Or, yeah, you should go. It's probably because you might have been dealing with this. Yeah, you should go see a therapist. And I was like, what? Foreign information to me. So now I'm at the point where it's just like, I'm on my journey to heal and to grind. And you know how many times I've seen a sermon and literally the pastor would be like, go to counseling. Go to counseling. And I'm like, you talking to me? But yeah, so healing is hard, but it's worth it, and God can help you. He will help you, and yeah. Basically, I could go into the fourth topic, but I don't really want to. So I'm gonna close this out. Ending thought. Life is more complex than you think, but with time and the proper guidance and tools, you can grow to be a better person, regardless of who you used to be. That is my closing thoughts on life as an adult so far. I could talk about a whole bunch of other aspects of adulting and life and how rough it can be, but that's a topic for another day. But I basically just wanted to make this podcast because I miss making content, and because, like I said, I was listening to a podcast and I got inspired to film one. So I thought, why not I just film one and just film it and just put it out. No edits, no nothing, just raw dog in the podcast. And I might do this for some time because, like I said, I am going to make content. Like, I guess the podcast can get a little sneak peek of it. In the month of December, I am doing Movie Mania. In the sense of, I did mention it on my on my Instagram and my YouTube, my Instagram and my Snapchat story that I'm going to be doing Movie Mania. And by that, I mean, you know how December is Vlogmas. People vlog every day for 24 days, 25 days until Christmas, and then they're done. I am not doing that because I need mental stability. And that will give me no sleep. When I say no sleep, because like I said, I basically have 5 jobs. I cannot vlog every single day, edit it, and post it to repeat. I will get no sleep. It will be like finals week every single week for 4 College students know finals week is brutal. To talk about the freaking the all-nighters. I'll be putting an all-nighter every single day. And on top of that, having to go to work to stand for 8 hours straight. No. I will not do that. I refuse. So instead, I was going to try to post twice a week. That was before I got a job. So now I'm like, realistically and mentally, I will not be posting I will not be posting twice a week. I can't do that. Mentally, no. But also, time-wise, I have no time to do that. So I'll be posting once a week a Movie Mania. Basically, I will be going to, the series will be called A Deep Dive in blank, whatever movie it is that I'm talking about. And it'll be Movie Mania because the whole month of December, I'll be making videos only about movies. Because basically my channel is like, I do a mixture of a few things, but December will be dedicated to just movies. And then depending on how the series goes, I can do another series where I do TV Mania, where I talk about seasons, like a season of a show. And boy, oh boy, do I have seasons. Like, one of the shows I'm going to talk about is Gilmore Girls. I had to do that. I'm sorry. Gilmore Girls, I watched that as a child with my mom growing up, and I don't remember any of the show. I forgot the show as a whole. But I remember watching it and how, like, it was nice to watch it with my mom. But then I started watching it, like, I think 2 months ago. I was watching that show. And, oh my gosh, do I want to roundhouse kick the grandmother. Oh my gosh, she boils my blood. She boils my blood. So, I'm not going to talk about this in the podcast because she genuinely, I want to roundhouse kick this old lady. Like, I want to roundhouse kick her because she is so ignorant, so annoying, so annoying. Like, girl, you was a rich, your daughter had the good life. She was born wealthy and you wonder why she ran away from you? Look at yourself. Look in the mirror, babes. You're ugly. You're horrible. You have a terrible personality. You are a horrendous person. You have few times do you act like a genuine human being and you turn around and say snarky remarks about her 24/7 and you wonder why she don't like you. You wonder why she can't stand you. You wonder why, like, oh my gosh, this lady boils my blood. So I'm ready for that. When I do TV Mania and I could do a whole video just about her. I hate it. I dislike her so much. It makes me mad because sometimes with characters and with stuff that happens in life, it triggers me. I get, like, because I'll see people do things and it reminds me of how people did that to me and I hate it. I hate it so much. So the grandma, she doesn't remind me of my grandmothers because my grandmothers weren't like that to me. I love my grandmas. They're both dead. Love y'all. My grandmothers weren't like that. But the type of person that she is and the actions that she does boils my blood because I hate that type of behavior. Anyway, but yeah, so the month of December, I will be doing Movie Mania where I'll be talking about different movies. I think the 4 that I'm going to talk about will be The Perks of Being a Wallflower, Another Cinderella Story, the one that Selena Gomez is in. I love Selena Gomez so much. Anyway, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, Another Cinderella Story with Selena Gomez in it, the movie Brothers that has Tobey Maguire and Jake Gyllenhaal in it, and Castaway. Now, I never talked about this, but I love the movie Castaway because I love Tom Hanks. I love that man. Like, there's like actors that you love because you find them attractive and just like, ugh. He's not them. He's old. He's those old people that you just love because they're a good actor. Tom Hanks and Steve Carell. I love Steve Carell so much. He's a phenomenal actor. Ugh, that man is impeccable. Anyway, but yeah, I love Castaway. I love Forrest Gump too. And, but yeah. So those are the few movies that I will be probably talking about. I may or may not talk about them. Castaway, I definitely will be. Another Cinderella Story. Well, actually, no. I will be talking about those 4 movies. I might, maybe if I feel like I have enough time, talk about other movies. But I will also I might talk about I might do some other videos too as well. Like some reflection videos, like of 2022. I feel like some people say that this year was bad. This year was actually really good for me because I learned a lot and actually was able to, I had more wins than losses. Like, this year was a good year for me. And I really do, like, I was really happy with the way how this year turned out. So, yeah. So, that's it. That will be the month of December. I may or may not post another podcast. I may just do my podcast where it's just me just talking and then I don't edit it and I just upload it and go on about my business. So hopefully I can do that because then I could at least post on my podcast once a week and basically catch up on what I haven't been talking about. So I think if I stick to my plan, next week I'll be talking about art and the concept of it being a career, and is pursuing art a good career choice, or is art a good choice for a career? That's what I'll be talking about next week. And I have opinions and thoughts about the concept of making art a career because hello, I'm doing it myself. So yeah, so that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys. I stuttered. I'm sorry. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you want to see, I don't post on the podcast Instagram, but I will start doing it now. So if you want to follow the podcast Instagram, it is just Random Chester Anna on Instagram. You can DM me any topics that you would think that you would like me to talk about, or any comments about the podcast, any thoughts you have about it. You can DM me, Random Chester Anna on Instagram. You can also, if you want to follow my social medias, you can follow my not my Snapchat. I don't put my Snapchat up anymore. I have Snapchat, but I don't want people to follow because I get too many bots trying to follow me on Snapchat. So I'm just like, you know what? No more Snapchat. Just TikTok and Instagram. So if you want to follow me on my TikTok and Instagram, they're just Adam the Cash. And my Twitter is joyful_cash. And this podcast is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, Anchor, and other platforms as well, whatever platforms Anchor exposes to. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. And hopefully I will see you guys next week. Bye.